Captain on the bridge.
Alright, Captains, we are back here on the bridge, and today, yes, we wanted to go over something that was sent to us in regards to Star Trek Picard, the final season. But before we get into that, Captains, do us a favor, like the video, but also subscribe here to the YouTube bridge, as here we love to share our passion for not only the things that we mainly cover here on this channel, which is Star Trek Online, but of course for Star Trek. Now, with that said, let's go. Captains, Star Trek Picard, the final season, has already aired the first episode, and we are still losing our ever-loving mind. It was a very, very good episode, and like we said there in our review of episode 1, we gave it a 9.99. Funny how I say nostalgia carried me in terms of how much I like the episode, but I couldn't get really a perfect score because it was that was also holding me back from giving it a perfect score. But regardless, it was almost just so good, and we cannot wait to see the rest of the season. But there were some things here that were sent to me, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video there, that I thought it would be fun to have a discussion on. So, on screen. Yes, Captains, this article was sent to me by one of my fellow captains, and shout out to Clerenyvald. Clerenyvald, thank you for sending this to me. I thought it was a really interesting article for us to have a discussion here on the bridge. Now, this article is from Screen Rant, and what we're going to do is go over it, drop a couple of my ECs as we go through it, and then go over kind of a little discussion on what I would like to see that comes from this article here. So here we go. So Picard Season 3 could team up 4 classic Star Trek ships. So 4 classic Star Trek ships could team up in Star Trek Picard Season 3, and possibly even more. Star Trek Picard Season 3 reunites Patrick Stewart's Admiral Jean-Luc Picard with the entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation for one more adventure to save the galaxy. While the USS Enterprise F is poised to make an appearance, Picard Season 3's hero ship is the USS Titan A, although many other famous ships could also warp into the story. The hero ship of Star Trek Picard Seasons 1 and 2 was La Sirena, the non-Starfleet cargo vessel, once owned by Captain Cristobal Rios. Not setting Picard Season 1 on a Starfleet ship was a part of a deliberate attempt to differentiate from the Star Trek The Next Generation. However, Star Trek Picard Season 2 was bookended with a mission aboard the new USS Stargazer. The Stargazer teamed up with the USS Excelsior and a new Borg ship to save the galaxy from an unnamed alien threat. Meanwhile, Starfleet Armada space battles have been part of Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Prodigy, which saw the return of the USS Defiant from the Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So how could Picard Season 3 could team up for classic Star Trek ships? So Star Trek Picard Season 3's main villain is the mysterious Captain Vadic, which is crazy lady psycho captain there, controls a fearsome new starship called the Shrike. There's no telling what armaments and surprises the Shrike wields, and it may prove to be too much for one Starfleet vessel alone, even if it is the new USS Titan A. But Star Trek Picard Season 3 could unite all of the Starfleet hero ships previously seen in the show, so that the Titan with the First Officer 7 of 9, the Excelsior with First Officer Raffi Musiker, the Stargazer, and the Enterprise F, making its long-awaited debut, could team up to take up on the Shrike. To team up to take on the Shrike, I should say. So this article was actually before the episode 1 was released. So now we know, of course, the captain is Liam Shaw of the Titan A. We don't know much yet about the Excelsior and whereabouts. Now, having said that, I'm quite surprised that we didn't see the XL2 in episode 1, which I was sort of disappointed because it's one of the new ships. Obviously, yes, we were so happy that we saw the other Star Trek Online ships make an appearance, but it would have been nice to put that in there. Hopefully, we could see it according to this article. Now, again, now we have said that the first officer is Raffi, but we know that she is on a mission, which unfortunately she was a little too late there. But again, we had done a review on that, captains. If you're interested, have a look at the review that we did there, our reaction there to the first episode. And of course, the Stargazer, we don't know now who is in charge of the Stargazer. And again, another sort of missed opportunity to kind of see it. Now, I know we will see it eventually regardless, because we have seen the Stargazer in the Sagan class in a couple of clips of the trailers leading up to Picard. Now, in addition, there are other famous starships that could also join forces in Star Trek Picard Season 3. La Sirena is still in play, and of course, having said that, we know that Raffi actually has the La Sirena in her possession, doing her little secret mission. Although its last captain, 7 of 9, is now part of Starfleet, there could be a surprise character who takes La Sirena back into action. No. Well, I guess it would be a surprise, or it is a surprise, but... In addition, Star Trek Picard Season 3 teased a Starship Museum where older starships are docked, possibly including the USS Enterprise D or even the USS Voyager. Now, in the ending credits, we did see the USS Voyager in and around that sort of a projected starbase screen there. So yes, those iconic starships could warp back into action, since Star Trek Picard Season 3 is designed as a conclusion not only to TNG, but to DS9 and Star Trek Voyager as well. So that's quite interesting. Why Picard Season 3's main ship is the Titan, not the Enterprise. Star Trek Picard Season 3 not reuniting the TNG crew aboard the Enterprise F symbolizes that their time aboard the flagship of the United Federation of Planets really has passed. Sad as it is, yes. It still would have been nice if it did take part on the Enterprise F, but I get it. Picard may be an admiral and Will Riker a captain, but they're no longer on the active Starfleet roster in the early 25th century. Instead, the Titan A was redesigned as a Neo-Constitution class ship to evoke the Enterprise in a clear visual nod to the classic NCC 1701, starship commanded by Captain James T. Kirk. In spite of 7 of 9 as first officer, the Titan A also has a new captain who I just want to just throw out the airlock. But having said that, character-wise, I want to throw him out of the airlock. Actor-wise, he did his job, because he made it so that we want to throw him out the airlock, or at least I do. Who may not be friendly to Picard and Riker. These are strategic moves designed to not make things easy for Picard as he goes about this final mission, and we already saw that from the first episode. However, it's possible the entire Star Trek The Next Generation crew will assemble aboard the Enterprise F at some point in Star Trek Picard Season 3, which would evoke incredible nostalgia, not that we're already being slapped by nostalgia left, right, and center. Meanwhile, a potential team-up of the Titan, the Stargazer, the Excelsior, and the Enterprise would guarantee a thrilling space battle against the Shrike. Yes, I agree 100%. So, again, shout out to Clerenyvald, Captain. Thank you so much for sending me this article. It's always fun to kind of dive into these discussions because it's so cool. So we're going to take that off screen, and now we're going to do this. We'll also take down that image. What I wanted to do now is go over the ships that we've seen so far there in Picard. And of course, we know we already seen the Titan. Now, captains, of those of you who have been here on the bridge with us for a while now know that we actually interviewed Bill Krause, aka Admiral Buck, the actual creator of this ship, here on the bridge. And I believe we're going to have him back here on the bridge to discuss all, of course, his baby here, the Titan, but also the other ship that he has actually said, and we did see and had a video on there on screen. But regardless, this is the Titan A. I do like it. My only issues with it, to be honest, is the deflector. It looks way too Excelsior-y. And the nacelles, I wish they could have used something else. Now, after watching the first episode, of course, and or anything up to the first episode, we know that these nacelles are from the Sagan class, the Stargazer. And they were also seen on a shuttle with just a sort of watered or, sized down nacelles. So I wish they would have given her different nacelles to, again, differentiate this ship from the rest of the fleet, from the rest of the ships that we are going to see in Star Trek Picard, because I just feel that it was a sort of shortcut. And, I don't mind these nacelles. I bought, the Sagan class, aka the Stargazer, is one of my favorite ships now in Star Trek. And I love nacelles on her, but we first saw those nacelles on that ship. And then just kind of plugging on here was kind of like, meh. And then you see the other ships, they have all different nacelles. So, again, it just felt like a shortcut to me. Now, staying on the subject of the nacelles just feel a little too thin. I just wish they were a little bit wider. But the length of them is fine, because when we saw her fly across the screen, it did look great overall. The overall shape, obviously, just was good. And yes, I do see that, of course, sort of nod to the Constitution, the 1701 refit there. Again, like I said, the deflector. Now, I wish they would have kept the cutout that had 3 torpedo launchers on the front of the saucer here on the Titan, because the original ship of this was the Shangri-La that Bill made. And it really felt more of a tactical ship. And we know she's going to be in a fight. We know she's going to be in a fight, especially with the Shrike. And I just felt like that would have really sort of accented this ship a little bit more to really give it some teeth. But regardless, again, great ship. I cannot wait to see this ship in action, even more so than we have. So there's that. So we'll put that off to the side for a bit. And of course, we also saw in the first episode there a picture of the, not that one, where is that? That here. There you go, the Odyssey. Now, of course, as we know, this is from Star Trek Online. And finally, yes, it being canonized is just kind of the greatest feeling, one of the greatest feelings I've ever felt as kind of part of the Star Trek Online community, because we have her now on screen as also the Enterprise F. It does suck that she is going to get decommissioned, because where we saw this image there on Rafi's screen when she was looking for images for Frontier Day, and it was there in the right side saying to be decommissioned. Unfortunately, it is true. Now, I don't know how accurate this is. There was a Twitter post that I saw there mentioning the timelines of the service time of the Enterprises. The Enterprise F actually had the second, I believe, longest service life, only next to the original Constitution. So, but regardless, it kind of sucks. It just felt like we got her just on screen and all of a sudden that's it. Now, a lot of discussion has been mentioned where now it opens up a possibility, a sort of to a new Enterprise, and that would be Enterprise G. And I have seen and have played, even in some Star Trek games in the past, a concept of an Enterprise G, and I do like that. Of course, we're probably not going to use that, but it may be also another discussion for us to have here on the bridge. But again, in that article, it was talking about having this ship as well, possibly up against the Shrike. I would love to see it. Now, we did see her flying across the screen there and meeting up with a fleet of ships. I hope it wasn't just a shot for, Frontier Day and their little parade that they're going to do, and I hope it was them going into battle. But again, super happy that this ship got into canon, and yes, I hope that we get the skin of this relatively soon. Now, the other ship that we showed, of course, there was the Excelsior. Now, this Excelsior, I wasn't a huge Excelsior fan, to be honest, Captains. The original one, I should say. And I know that might bother a lot of people, me saying that. But the reason being, there was just this one sort of angle that I did not like. Now it's from the top view down. You had this small saucer and then this like elongated secondary hull and, of course, the long nacelles it has. This, of course, does take some hints from the Sovereign and the saucer-wise, but I feel that it balanced everything out for me, personally. And we have the ship in Star Trek Online, and it's just one of my most favorite ships now because it is elegantly designed. But goes back to what I was saying earlier, in the Titan, the nacelles are different. So why couldn't they give this the Titan a different nacelles as well? Again, just to differentiate itself. But to see this ship again in Star Trek Picard, not only see it, but to see it in action, because we only saw it really just in a fleet. That's it. It didn't do nothing much. So I would love to see this go up against a Shrike or any really just kind of pew-pews. I would really love to see what she can do. And I guess the only thing that we did see her do was be a part of the harmonic shield, which even that it was having trouble doing, But I would love to see it in a fight and with upgraded systems, hopefully. Now we know that the Lakota, an Excelsior class starship, was upgraded to have quantum torpedoes. I would love for this to shoot quantum torpedoes. Now, the Titan in one of the trailers was shooting photon torpedoes. So I would like to see also the Titan be able to fire that. Now, in Star Trek Lower Decks, there was a new ship class, the Texas class, that was shooting purple torpedoes. We don't know what type of torpedoes they are, or if there is out there. I don't know what they are, but it's canon now. It's on there. It's on screen. So it seems like that is a powerful torpedo. So I would like to see just more pew-pews coming from the ship, and hopefully not just photon torpedoes. I don't mind that. I would just like to see upgrade system, but really having these ships just do their pew-pew thing. So we'll leave that for now. And of course, the last ship that we'll have a look here is none other than the Sagan class itself. And of course, this was in the article, and we do also have this ship in Star Trek Online. Again, one of my favorite ships. I've always liked forward nacelle designs for the majority, and this one really made sense. The elongated saucer there. I love the deflector look. The nacelles, of course, just like the one on the Titans, and there's 4 of them. The configuration was really nice, and this is also a ship apparently that is using Borg technology. So again, we didn't see much of the ship other than form part of a shield barrier. So I'd love to see this in action and see the weapon systems on this. So again, phasers, or maybe even a new type of beam weapon, and again, torpedoes, either quantum photons or those purple torpedoes that I was talking about earlier. Having said that, in game, this ship from the 4 has, I believe, 8 torpedo launchers, and they're on the actual pylons themselves. So I would love to see this come in, just swoop in, and just boom, just a barrage of torpedoes come in, and of course followed by phaser fire. So again, one of my favorite starships now in Star Trek, and of course Star Trek Online, and having it in Star Trek Online and then seeing it on screen is just awesome. And that's why we have decided to somewhat dabble more into the Star Trek land in terms of content creation, because we do cover Star Trek Online content here on the bridge, but with all this Star Trek now kind of intermingling, we can't help ourselves. And of course, this is why we do what we do, so that we can share our love and passion, like I mentioned, there with like-minded fellow captains. So there is that. So there are the 4 ships. Now, the Shrike. I would love to see, yes, an actual fight with the Shrike here happen with all those 4 ships. Now, this is kind of a unique design. Now, I have said this before in the review, that it looks like can pass for like a Batman Batwing type vehicle. You know, it does have the 4 sort of wings there. It actually even reminds me of an X-Wing from Star Wars. And it has these like almost like pincers there at the top of the ship or right there in the middle. Now, we did see a shot of this in full frontal that had like a deflector hanging like right below there and, you know, in the middle. It's a good looking ship, and we know that this ship, of course, is going to now make its way into Star Trek Online. We have a video planned, of course, to discuss about that. Hopefully we can get that going to complement all the Star Trek Picard content that we're doing here / Star Trek Online. But she looks like a mean ship. There is just no doubt that she looks like a mean ship, and I would love to see what she has. Now, there was a scene already of her in the trailer chasing the Titan and firing sort of red energy beam weaponry. And it was kind of pulsed. It wasn't beams. It was just kind of a pulsed weapon. So I want to see what else kind of type armaments she has. Now, we did see also a shot of this ship in front of the Helios, which actually reminded me of Nemesis. Not only Nemesis, where the Scimitar was in front of the Enterprise, but also in Star Trek, the Kelvin timeline, where the Vengeance warped in right in front of the Enterprise there. So it kind of gave me that vibe. But having said that, the Helios is not a very big ship. And this ship, in comparison to the Helios, yeah, it's big, but I don't think, and we've seen it, of course, it chasing the Titan, it's not necessarily big. So I can't see how much danger this ship would have. Now, if we're going to actually pair it up with, and again, spoilers alert, with one of the things that they are sort of showing there on screen there in Picard with the experimental weapons that they stole and what it did to that building there for that Rachel Garrett ceremony, then I can see it being a big threat. I say that to say, at the end of season 2, we had the Borg guarding this anomaly, this huge transwarp hub, is what they're possibly saying. That's what Seven said it might be, or some sort of wormhole. But this ship is already out. So what possible huge danger and connection does that have from season 2 to season 3 with, because they don't feel like they're meshing to me. So big, huge hole there in space that something could come out. Then you have the Borg with their biggest vessel that we've seen guarding it. And then now the threat so far in episode 1 is this ship and then a weapon that could sort of collapse, destroy a building, a ship, and then spit it out somewhere else. Like it doesn't feel like it's connected. I hope that they just sort of connected in a way where they don't, just forget about what happened there in season, because that was one of the most epic things that I've seen there in Star Trek. But it doesn't feel like it's a huge threat to me. So, but having said that, she's a mean ship. She's a mean looking ship. Now we're going to bring back all the ships that we went over here quickly. Of course, there we have all these gorgeous, gorgeous ships here. We'll just scale this a bit to kind of make it a little bit even there. I think that's good. Let's have a Stargazer, just a tad, just a tad. Okay. Now, again, I would love to see a sort of epic pew pew scene there. And captains, if you don't know, the ships is my first love in Star Trek. And how I got introduced to Star Trek was the first image of, not the first image, but a sort of stock image or video of the Enterprise D coming from bottom to top, where it would just come down to your screen and it was just flying through space. That ignited the love for Star Trek for me. It's always been ships first for me. So I've always loved the battle scenes there that I've seen in Star Trek over the years. Notably, of course, like the Sacrifice of Angels. That was probably one of the best ones there, where you saw a mixture of, like, of course, the Defiant and the Galaxy class, but all those pew pew scenes. And then we get a lot more of them in the latest Trek too, in, of course, Lower Decks, now Prodigy, all those pew pew scenes. I would love to see, like, this article is sort of suggesting that Picard Season 3 could do is put these 4 new hero ships that we have, of course, the Titan, the Enterprise F, the Sagan class, aka Stargazer, and the Excel 2.0 against the Shrike. But again, what I said earlier, this ship is not too big. It's not like a Borg cube or anything. It just seems like a ship, and I don't even think it's as big as a Scimitar. I feel that if you have these 4 ships go up against the Shrike, it's going to be no mas. It's not even a contest. These 4 ships would decimate this. Now, if it is using, and maybe that's a part of the design of the ship, where you have the points and tips of it, who knows, kind of like the Scimitar, is using those weapons it stole, that would be something interesting to kind of behold in terms of what it could mean, and maybe that's why it is a huge threat, but it still feels like it's not. Now, whether it can do that experimental weapon, can do that to like planets or something, that's going to be different. But what I would love to see is, the Titan, getting decimated by the Shrike, and then you have, let's say, have the Excelsior come in, try to help out. Then as it's, the Titan's kind of backing off, you have the Excel engaging the fight, then you have a Sagan class, the Stargazer come in, show off its Borg weaponry, and then of course you have the Enterprise F just come in and help out there as well with it's another incoming ship, and it's the Enterprise type line again. And then you see all these 4 ships converging on the Shrike. I think that would be so epic. I would have to change my uniform probably 10 times or more if that happened. So again, I thought this was just a fun discussion to be had, especially here on the bridge when we're talking about ships, because I love ships from Star Trek. I love the design of them. They just appeal to me. Now, I'm not one for wing designs, but this Shrike does look pretty good. And definitely it will be coming to Star Trek Online. It's a ship that I won't be getting personally. I would rather get the Federation ships. And like I said, out of these 4 ships, I'm only missing the Federation ships. I'm only missing the Titan A. And of course, when that comes into Star Trek Online, captains, you bet your aft we're going to be reviewing that, and I'll be changing uniforms there. So again, thought it'd be a fun discussion. Captains, let us know what you think, what scenario you would like to see in terms of how the battle script goes between the Shrike and possibly these 4 ships in the description below. Of course, like the video, as it does help recommend this video out to like-minded fellow captains. And of course, subscribe here to YouTube Bridge. We are, like I said in the beginning of the video, we're always on the lookout for like-minded captains where we can always share our love, our passion for Star Trek Online, and also Star Trek, because there's so much of it right now. And we'll do our best, if there's something that we feel that we can have a discussion like this about regarding Star Trek and our Star Trek Online, we will do so. And we would love to have that discussion with you captains. But with that said, we are going to leave it on this note.
Don't let them promote you. Don't let them transfer you. Don't let them do anything that takes you off the bridge of that ship, because while you're there, you can make a difference.